There are really four characteristics that define what a visionary is. First up, that you're multi-passionate. Second, that you are high achieving. The other thing is that you are overthinking, that your natural way to process information is to overthink that joint. And then the other thing is that you're carrying around a million ideas at any given time. Those are the four characteristics that define visionary. I really want to dig into what it means for those four things to be true. So today I think I want to talk to you about what it means that you are a visionary. I use that word a lot. I'm always saying, you're a visionary, you're a visionary. It's really funny. I initially started using the word visionary. I knew what I meant. But what I've come to realize is because you don't have Oprah-level outcomes, you might not assign this word to yourself. When we say Oprah, of course, you can think of that being a visionary. Oprah's a visionary. That's easy to think about and it's easy to imagine. But when it comes to you, your life may not have Oprah-level outcomes. And because of that, it's probably difficult to think of yourself as a visionary person. Most visionaries don't feel visionary at the beginning of their visionary journey because there are no outcomes that are associated with your visionary journey just yet. If you don't have your Oprah outcomes yet, how can you know you're a visionary? But it is very important that you do assign this word to yourself, because without that, everything starts to feel really big and really scary and really inundated and almost impossible in a lot of ways. So it's important for you to know that you are a visionary. You're just before the time of visibly and tangibly touching your outcomes. First up, I always say that you're multi-passionate. The second thing I say all the time is that you are high achieving. And I get into arguments with people about that all the time, right? So we'll get into that a little bit later, more details. The other thing that I say all the time is that you are overthinking, that your natural way to process information is to overthink that joint. And then the other thing that I say is that you're carrying around a million ideas at any given time. So those are the four characteristics that I use to define visionary, but I really want to dig into what it means for those four things to be true. So high level, a visionary is a person that is meant to and intended to do something in the earth. Now, when I say do something, everybody that's here is meant to do something. But a visionary is someone that's called differently, called distinctly, called to design, called to create, called to build, called to strategize, called to innovate the baseline of something that already exists in humanity and for humanity. But whatever it is that you do as a visionary person, first and foremost, it's wildly specific. It's something that is primarily God-given, and then secondarily has been supported by all of your life, not just your training. A lot of people think that you have to be, have a degree in whatever it is that you're called to innovate or change or affect as a visionary person. And it's not true, you don't. But your life, by God's design, will give you experience toward the direction of that thing that you are called to impact. And even though that experience has been challenging for you, it does not mean that it wasn't a necessary part of your journey. And while you're going through that moment, it might feel really difficult to see it as necessary. But on the other side of your visionary journey, the hope, the goal, the woofum, so to speak, the what's in it for me, for you, is that whatever you have been through is for the next person, it's for the next iteration and focus of your life. I always say that your go through is for your get to. Whatever you've gone through is what you get to then, build into something and turn into something else. So high level visionary is someone who was called by God, designed by God before the beginning of time to build, grow, innovate something, create something here in the physical world. That thing has to come from inside you out into the world. So let's talk about these four characteristics again. So the first characteristic is of a visionary person is somebody that is multi-passionate. So even using the same example of Oprah, right? Like you're looking at someone who has built a media company, who's done hosting, who has done philanthropy, who's written books, who has, done all of these things that if you allow it, the weight loss stuff, she was a spokesperson for Weight Watchers for a really, really long time, right? So all these things, it would seem completely disconnected, except for it is a substrata trait of a visionary person to be completely multi-passionate, to feel like there's a lot of different areas that you are interested in and not really know what the through line is. I had a one-on-one visionary strategy session with someone, and she came to me and was like, I have all this stuff that I'm interested in. I don't know what to do with any of it, and I can't find the through line. And so the big aha moment there, especially for her, was that you are the through line. So very much like for Oprah, that's why the brand is Oprah. Oprah is the brand because Oprah creates the through line of all of her passions. It's not how do I be a media mogul and then separately a weight loss professional and separately. The question is, how do I be Oprah? Just me. How do you be yourself and allow all those multi-passionate things to coexist, right? And so there's a way and a path forward to do that. So understanding that you are multi-passionate, that is a visionary trait, and you can use Oprah as an example if you need one for how that is true. So the second thing that is a trait of being a visionary person is being high achieving. So it's really funny. I got into not an argument, right? But like on TikTok, I said this, that you're multi-passionate, high achieving, overthinking. It comes out like a speech now. I've been practicing it. So I said the high achieving part, and someone came in my comments and said, but I'm not high achieving. Does this still count? And so I came back and I said, I'm going to challenge that. Because what I know about visionary people is that you are high achieving. You might not be conventionally high achieving. So let me be very clear. High achieving on its face is great grades, 25 businesses, lots of, accolades, and you've really gone after it with gusto, all the things that you felt deeply compelled to do and try in the world, and you've succeeded at a lot of them. That's a very easy definition of high achieving. But not every visionary has that story. So that cannot be universally true. There are visionary people. Let's take Albert Einstein. Let's throwback visionary, right? This is a good example. He didn't do well on an entrance exam. There's like a million things. Even Oprah got overlooked for a promotion when she was at WJZ. So there are so many examples of visionary people that are easy to recognize as visionary because of the outcomes that we now know about, but they didn't have a conventionally high achieving story. But there is somewhere in their story where their innovation has created a high achievement pattern, right? So that is something that comes and unravels and unfolds. But no matter where you are in your journey, there's some place on your scale where you have been high achieving. So let's talk about unconventional high achievement. Are you great at video games? I'm going to call that unconventional high achievement. Are you great at flipping bottles on their heads? Water bottles, they do this little experiment thing and they flip them, and you're really, really good at that. Unconventional, you are really, really good at something. Are you good at singing? There's something in your set of skills that causes you to be identified as either conventionally or unconventionally high achieving. And if you haven't touched it yet, I want to encourage you even now to explore something that you find an interest in, because if you haven't touched the moment of feeling like you are a high achiever, maybe it's because you haven't gone into the thing that's like your thing, and maybe because it is unconventional, what you're interested in, and it doesn't seem like it'll fit in with like what everybody else says will make you, air quotes around, successful, or make you feel, like you fit in with everybody else around you. But go forward and try it if you haven't found your thing that you feel really high achieving about. For a lot of visionary people, academic high achievement, conventional like promotion, working hard to learn something and being able to learn just about anything that's put in front of you, all of those things are the conventional high achieving things that I see with a lot of visionaries. The third thing for visionary people that's like a trait for visionary people is overthinking. Like the substrata of your thought process, your default thought process is overthinking. The challenge with being a visionary person and being marked by overthinking is that it also makes you stop. It also makes you not do things a lot of the time. Like a lot of the time you end up not doing stuff because you have overthought your way into stalemate. What if this happens? What if this happens? Now you're stuck. This could happen. This could happen. Now you're stuck. This did happen before, so I can't try it again. Now you're stuck. And that overthinking kind of process will keep you stuck in most things. In this particular category, I feel like a really good piece of advice that I've learned over the course of time is to take a now, later, and after that kind of approach. I don't think we'll have enough time in this one video to kind of go through that whole thing, but it is a productivity system that I've designed for visionary people. It's something that I talk a lot about inside of Success on Your Own Terms. That's a community that I built for visionary people who are working through developing their next steps in life. So that's somewhere where we really dive into what it means to be productive as a visionary person. So high level, just for the purpose of this video, now, later, after that. Because you're someone that can get stuck in the trap of overthinking, saying to you, like, just don't overthink it, that's wild. That's not ever going to work, right? But conventionally, that is what people would say to you. They would say, oh, just stop overthinking and just do stuff. But what we know as visionary people is that that's not real. Can't do that. So instead, now, later, after that. Everything is important, first and foremost. That is totally valid. Everything can be important for you as a visionary person. That's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. So because of that, though, That means you have to evaluate what you're going to do next by what resources you currently have. So instead of trying to say, how can I do all of this? Evaluate, what do I have resources, both time, effort, and energy, and money, to be able to do right now? And whatever that is, do that now. Once that's done, what comes later? What comes right after that? And then once those things are done, what comes after that? So now, later, and after that. But it's all about leveraging the resources that you have now to be able to snowball into what you want to be able to do ultimately. So the fourth characteristic of a visionary person is always having a million ideas floating around in your head at any given time. That right there, it kind of encapsulates all of it, because you're multi-passionate, because you're overthinking, because you are high achieving, and you've probably explored a lot of different areas of interest because the multi-passionate, high achieving thing. You now have a million ideas floating around in your head at any given time. Having the millions of ideas is your gift as a visionary person. That means your problem solving skills are probably pretty amazing, right? Your ability to see through a situation is probably really amazing. You might be having the challenge, though, with this a million ideas in one, strategizing which idea to kind of pick up and run with, two, how to take an idea you are running with to the next level, or three, how to kind of make sense of what feels like a ball of string, of ideas kind of all clustered around each other. You may be struggling with any one of those things, and that's okay. In reality, all the ideas that you have in your head have a place. It's just about, again, with that productivity for visionaries, thinking about what's for now, what's later, and what's after that, and then taking that, kind of general approach to everything. And if you can do that as a visionary, then all of your ideas will end up having a place. So back to Oprah as my example, probably she had a big vision to start a media company 10 years, 20 years, 30 years before she was able to do so. The now step became being an anchor. That started when she was in high school. Then the later step became, maybe hosting a talk show. The after that step, maybe whatever. And I'm not suggesting that Oprah had all the resources to be able to know that she needed to take a now, later, and after that approach to being a visionary. What I'm suggesting is that at some point, in order to execute and see outcomes as a visionary, a productivity approach becomes wildly important. So let me just kind of wrap this all back up and say, so what we talked about today is essentially there are these four characteristics of what it means to be a visionary. As a big umbrella, first and foremost, it is an indicator that you are called. You are called for something as a visionary person. You are chosen for something as a visionary person. Now, I love to say this, it doesn't make you better than anybody else, and it doesn't make anybody else less than you. It's just that's the way you were designed. Right? It's almost as significant a piece of you as like your DNA or your blood type or something, things that you are born with. This is kind of the same thing. You are born with your calling. You're born with being chosen. That's just who you are. And it doesn't make you special. Doesn't make you gee whizzy, it just makes you different and makes you other. And because of that, you need a different set of rules to be able to kind of navigate through things. And so if you can first and foremost kind of acknowledge, man, maybe I am feeling that pull, that nudge. Or if you didn't know that that's what that was inside of you, maybe you thought it was indigestion. It's not. It is your calling. Your calling is calling to you from the inside. And while we're here, let's just talk about this for a second. Like, your calling is not coming from out here. You're not going to watch a YouTube video and your calling is going to smack you through the phone. It's not the way it's not the way that goes. What happens is your calling starts to call from on the inside of your body. It starts to come up from your intuition, from the spirit that's inside of you, from the divine that is existing inside of you. It starts to come up from there. And then you start to ingest things that help you articulate that calling out into the world. Hopefully for you, you're able to kind of get with someone, a coach, who is able to help guide you through that moment that I would call your awakening, when you kind of fully realize that you are called for something in this world. And if you didn't have that original sensing, but you're like, these four things, Shauna, oh, bless it. Multi-passionate, high achieving, conventionally or unconventionally, and overthinking is kind of like the baseline of the way you think about and process information. And also you're toting around a million ideas at any given time. If those four things, if that is you, you have a work to do in this world. Remember, no matter where you are in this journey, you are great, you are called, you are worthy, and you have value, period.